Welcome back to part 3 of this presentation. In this section, I'm focusing on employment issues. There are many people who are deaf or hard of hearing who've achieved success in a wide variety of occupations and careers. It's important not to have limited expectations of the jobs and careers adolescents with hearing loss should aspire to. At the same time, we need to understand the challenges they're likely to face and help them to be best prepared to deal with these when they arise. Sometimes adolescents are unsure if their hearing loss will prevent them from entering particular occupations or doing certain jobs that interest them. Can I be a nurse, a doctor? Could I work on building sites? Could I be a teacher, work in childcare? Parents and teachers often aren't sure either. In most cases, I'd advise to start by assuming that it's possible and doing some research to find out more about it. There might be genuine barriers to working in some occupations because of their hearing limitations, but adolescents may need encouragement to consider areas they might otherwise rule out prematurely. Many jobs that people who are deaf or hard of hearing would have been unable to do in the past are today possible with the use of technological and other accommodations. Most teenagers like searching the net. Encourage them to do some internet research. Just Googling the name of the job, for instance, paramedic and deaf, will bring up examples of people with hearing loss in that job. And they can look for technologies that could help them in particular jobs or in their post-secondary education. Encourage your adolescent to ask at their audiology appointments. Their audiologist should have a good knowledge of technology for different kinds of situations. As well, these young people need to know about non-technological solutions in the workplace, things that people can do that can be quite simple, for example, swapping tasks with a co-worker to avoid taking phone calls. These are some Australian websites that have examples and stories of people who are deaf or hard of hearing in a variety of jobs and careers. They're all very good and worth a look. Job Access is the only one that's not deafness specific. It's good for disability-related employment issues and offers online or telephone advice about workplace accommodations and similar things. We can learn a lot from the experiences of adults who are deaf or hard of hearing, and these are some of the things that they've reported as helping their success. Many of these come from a study we conducted with graduates of Griffith University who are deaf or hard of hearing about their experiences in their working lives. Most of these adults had encountered certain challenges related to their deafness, including the need to use the phone, problems with hearing in meetings and group discussions, and sometimes negative attitudes of co-workers. Apart from talking about the advantage of having the best level of education you can achieve, they described a variety of strategies they used to manage these challenges. Self-advocacy featured strongly, as did the need for personal qualities such as persistence and resilience, and being honest about their hearing loss and support needs. People also said that it was important for them to look after their health to cope with the additional efforts involved with having hearing loss in the workplace. As parents of children with hearing loss, you're probably well aware that they often get tired from the greater concentration, listening and lip-reading effort they need to make in everyday situations. And recently there have been some very interesting studies done with adults where researchers have used physiological measures as well as self-report ratings to assess levels of fatigue and stress. One study compared adults with and without hearing loss using 2 autonomic nervous system measures. So measures of skin conductance and heart rate indicated higher stress levels in the group with hearing loss than in the group without hearing loss in response to speech recognition tasks in noise. And several studies have found this in work settings, particularly when there's background noise. Many people don't quite fully realise this, and although I was aware of it from my daughter and from others I know with hearing loss, reading these studies with this physiological evidence really brought it home to me. Clearly it's important to make the most of any technological or other kinds of supports or accommodations that can make hearing and communication challenges easier, and there are many that can be used. These are some examples of things that can be helpful in workplaces. Many are simple and cost little or nothing, such as improving lighting or rearranging furniture so that the person can see others better. Others may involve more cost, sometimes just an initial outlay for a piece of equipment. There's a range of equipment designed for people with hearing loss in various occupations. For instance, for health professionals, there are stethoscopes that are amplified or have a visual display. Such things are continually being developed and improved, so it's worth trying to keep on top of developments and what might be useful. Under Australian legislation, employers are required to make reasonable adjustments or accommodations. It's useful for young people to have some basic knowledge of their rights under disability legislation and what the requirements are for employers. The Commonwealth Disability Discrimination Act 1992 is the major piece of legislation in this area and is designed to promote equal opportunity and access to education and employment for people with disability. It requires the avoidance of discrimination through making changes commonly referred to as reasonable adjustments or reasonable accommodations, such as the ones listed here. An adjustment is considered not to be reasonable if it involves changing the inherent requirements of the job. Something is also considered not to be reasonable if it imposes unjustifiable hardship on the employer. The legislation doesn't define that, but a whole lot of factors can be taken into consideration. As I've mentioned, many adjustments can be simple and have no cost involved. Others do involve cost, and there is financial assistance available. For example, the Employment Assistance Fund provides funds to people with disability or their employer for adjustments. The sorts of things they will fund include adaptive equipment for the workplace, information and communication devices, Auslan interpreting, live captioning, and deafness awareness training to managers and co-workers. Currently, up to $6,000 per year can be used for interpreting or live captioning for situations such as meetings. And the cost of an iPad for receiving captioning may be claimed, as well as some assistive listening devices, although not hearing aids or cochlear implants. I think more large organisations these days are keen, or at least willing, to embrace diversity, but there are always people who will be reluctant to provide accommodations. Asserting your rights in the face of such reluctance can be very challenging, especially for a young, inexperienced person. That's why the self-advocacy skills I've been speaking about are so important. This is the end of part 3 of the presentation. The next and final part will focus on transition to post-secondary education.